Sometimes in life we face moments when it becomes undeniably clear that something must end. It might be a relationship, a dream that no longer inspires us, or a chapter of our lives we've clung to for far too long. And yet the act of letting go, of allowing it to truly end, often feels like stepping into an abyss. Why is that? Why do we hesitate, even when every fiber of our being knows the truth? It's because endings are painted as failures in the story we tell ourselves. We're taught to persevere, to hold on, to fix what's broken at all costs. But perhaps the greatest misstep is not in letting go, it's in clinging to something that has already run its course. We fear endings because they feel like losses. Yet in truth, an ending is merely a transformation, a shift in the pattern of life that allows something new to emerge. Imagine holding onto a flower that has withered. Its petals fall away, its fragrance fades, and yet you grip it tightly, unwilling to let it go. Why? Because the act of releasing it means acknowledging its passing. But what if letting it go also meant opening your hand for a seed, one that could bloom into something new? To let it end is to acknowledge the rhythm of life, the cycles of beginnings and endings that have always shaped our existence. Without one, the other cannot follow. Sometimes the hardest part is not the end itself, but admitting that we've outgrown something. It can feel like betraying a part of ourselves, but what if holding on is the real betrayal? When we cling to what no longer serves us, we deny ourselves the opportunity to grow. Life, after all, is not static. It's a continuous dance of change. Endings are not failures, they are the moments when life whispers, this is not the path anymore. Trust me, there is more ahead. I remember hearing a story about a butterfly struggling to emerge from its cocoon. A passerby, seeing it struggle, decided to help by gently opening the cocoon. The butterfly emerged, but its wings were underdeveloped and it could not fly. What the helper didn't realize was that the struggle was necessary for the butterfly to grow strong enough to take flight. Endings often feel like that struggle. They're uncomfortable, sometimes agonizing, but they prepare us for what comes next. Without them, we remain in a state of limbo, unable to grow into the fullness of our potential. When we resist an ending, we also resist the wisdom it offers. Each ending comes with lessons if we are willing to listen. It might teach us about our resilience, our values, or the truth about what we want from life. But to hear these lessons, we must first summon the courage to let go. And courage doesn't mean the absence of fear, it means acting in spite of it. It means trusting that life knows what it's doing, even when we cannot see the bigger picture. Endings are sacred moments of transformation, and they ask us for one thing, faith. Faith in ourselves, faith in the process, and faith that letting go of what was opens the door to what can be. Think of the trees in autumn, shedding their leaves. They do not resist the cycle. They let go, trusting that spring will bring new growth. And so must we. So, when the time comes, don't be afraid to let it end. Trust that in the letting go, you are not losing yourself, you are finding the space to grow into the next version of who you are. Remember, the end is not the final act, it's the prelude to a new beginning. When something ends, it's tempting to numb the pain or run from it entirely. It's human nature, after all, to avoid discomfort, to shield ourselves from the sharp sting of loss. But what if pain isn't the enemy we think it is? What if, instead of resisting it, we allowed it to be what it is, a natural part of life's ebb and flow, a teacher pointing us toward deeper understanding? Pain, when something ends, is not there to punish us. It's there to remind us that we cared, that we were connected, that something mattered enough to hurt when it was gone. And yet most of us treat pain like an intruder, something to be banished as quickly as possible. We fill our days with distractions, hoping that if we keep ourselves busy enough, the ache will dissolve on its own. But pain doesn't vanish when ignored. It lingers in the background, waiting to be felt, acknowledged, and honored. Have you ever noticed how much effort goes into avoiding pain? We brace ourselves against it, pretend we're fine, or convince ourselves that we're over it before we've even begun to process what's happened. But pain, much like a storm, has its own timetable. You can't rush it away or force it to disappear. What you can do is stand in its presence, let it rain down on you, and trust that the storm will eventually pass. There's a story of a young boy who planted a seed in his garden. Eager for it to grow, he would dig it up every few days to check its progress. Unsurprisingly, the seed never had a chance to sprout. In the same way, when we rush through pain or try to sidestep it, we deny ourselves the opportunity to heal. Pain is like fertile soil for growth, and when we sit with it, when we allow ourselves to feel its depth, something extraordinary begins to happen. We grow stronger. We grow wiser. We grow more compassionate, not just toward ourselves, but toward others who are also navigating their own storms. There's a strange kind of beauty in allowing pain to take its course. When we stop fighting it, we find that it's not as unbearable as we feared. Pain, when welcomed rather than resisted, has a way of softening us, opening us up. It's through these cracks that light finds its way in, that transformation begins. It's often the moments of deepest hurt that reveal our greatest strength. But this isn't to say that pain is easy to bear. It's not. It can feel like an unrelenting weight, a constant reminder of what's been lost. And yet pain is not permanent. Like the tide, it rises and falls. It ebbs and flows. It moves through us, shaping us as it goes. Each wave of hurt carries with it the potential for healing, for growth, for renewal. Think of a wound. If ignored, it festers. But if cared for, cleaned, bandaged, and given time, it heals. The scar it leaves behind doesn't signify weakness or failure. It tells a story of resilience. And so it is with emotional pain. By allowing it to surface, by tending to it with patience and care, we give ourselves the chance to heal fully. We honor the depth of our experience, and in doing so, we honor ourselves. Pain is not the end of the story. It's a part of the process, a necessary step on the path toward healing and letting go. So don't be afraid to let it hurt. Feel it fully, not as a burden, but as a reminder that you are alive, that you are growing, that you are moving forward. In the willingness to embrace pain, we find the freedom to heal, and eventually the strength to let it go. Healing is a peculiar process, isn't it? It doesn't follow a straight line or a logical timeline. It's not something we can control or force into submission. Healing is more like a dance, one that requires patience, trust, and an openness to move with the rhythm of life. And yet, how often do we treat healing like a task to be completed, something to check off a list so we can move on to the next thing? But healing isn't about rushing to feel okay again. It's about allowing ourselves the space to not be okay for a while. It's about sitting with our wounds, listening to what they have to say, and letting time do its quiet, mysterious work. Like a tree regrowing its bark after being stripped bare, healing happens slowly, layer by layer. You can't rush it, nor should you try. We live in a world that prizes quick fixes. If something is broken, we want it repaired immediately. If we're hurting, we want the pain to disappear overnight. But the deepest healing doesn't come from avoidance or distraction. It comes from acknowledgement, from creating space for all the messy, complicated feelings that arise after something has ended. Healing isn't neat or tidy, it's raw and real. And it asks for our full presence. Think of a wound on your skin. If you constantly pick at it, trying to speed up the process, it only gets worse. But if you let it breathe, if you care for it gently, it eventually closes, leaving behind a scar as a testament to your resilience. Emotional wounds are no different. They need care and attention, not force. Healing comes when we stop trying to control the process and instead trust that it's unfolding exactly as it should. There's a beautiful truth in the way nature heals itself. When a forest burns, it seems like a disaster. The charred remains are stark, barren, lifeless. But over time, new growth begins to appear. Tiny shoots push through the ashes, seeds that lay dormant awaken, and life returns in ways that are often richer and more vibrant than before. The forest doesn't rebuild itself overnight, but it does rebuild. In its own time, it finds a way to thrive again. And so it is with us. Healing is not about returning to who we were before the pain. It's about becoming someone new, someone shaped by the experience but not defined by it. It's about learning to carry our scars with grace, to let them remind us not of what we lost but of what we gained: strength, wisdom, and the ability to move forward with an open heart. It's important to remember that healing is not linear. Some days you'll feel like you're making progress, and other days you might feel like you're right back where you started. But this too is part of the process. Healing is a journey, not a destination. It's a continual unfolding, a gradual letting go of what no longer serves us so that we can make room for what's next. We often think of healing as something we must do alone, but it's worth remembering that connection can be a powerful part of the process. Whether it's leaning on a friend, seeking guidance from a mentor, or simply allowing yourself to be seen and heard, healing happens in the presence of compassion, both from others and from ourselves. So let it heal. Let it take the time it needs. Trust that the pain you feel now is not forever, that the cracks it leaves behind will someday let in the light. Healing isn't about erasing the hurt, it's about transforming it into something beautiful. Because when we allow ourselves to heal, we're not just mending what's broken, we're becoming whole again, in a way we never thought possible. Letting go is often misunderstood. People talk about it as if it's a simple, single act like opening your hand to release something you're holding. But in truth, letting go is a process, not an event. It's not about forgetting or pretending something didn't happen. It's about releasing the grip of attachment, not to the experience itself, but to the story we tell ourselves about it. You see, we're storytellers by nature. We weave narratives about what happened, why it happened, what it says about us. When something ends, we often replay it in our minds over and over, trying to make sense of it, trying to rewrite the past in a way that feels less painful. But the past is unchangeable. What we can change is our relationship to it. Letting go doesn't mean erasing memories or denying emotions. It means loosening our attachment to the way things were. It's about recognizing that clinging to what's gone only prolongs the suffering. Imagine trying to swim while holding onto a heavy rock. No matter how strong you are, the weight will pull you down. The moment you let it go, though, you find yourself free to float, to move, to breathe. And yet, letting go isn't always easy. There's a fear that if we release our hold, we'll lose something vital, something that feels like it's part of who we are. But here's the thing, what's meant for you will never require you to cling so tightly. The connections, experiences, and opportunities that truly belong in your life will stay, not because you're holding on, but because they are meant to. Letting go is also an act of trust. It's trusting that life knows what it's doing, even when we don't. It's trusting that endings are not punishments, but transitions. Think of the leaves falling from a tree in autumn. The tree doesn't fight to keep them. It lets them fall, knowing that in time new growth will come. The bare branches are not a loss, they're a preparation for renewal. There's freedom in letting go, a lightness that comes when we release what no longer serves us. But to find that freedom, we must face the discomfort of the in-between, the space where we've let go of the old but haven't yet stepped into the new. It can feel unsettling, even empty, but it's in this space that transformation happens. It's where we rediscover who we are without the weight of the past holding us back. And as we let go, we must also forgive not just others, but ourselves. Forgiveness doesn't mean condoning what happened. It means freeing yourself from the burden of resentment. It's a gift you give yourself, a way of cutting the cord that ties you to the pain. Because holding on to anger or blame only binds you tighter to what you're trying to release. Letting go is ultimately an act of love. Love for yourself, for your growth, for the life that's waiting for you beyond the hurt. It's about creating space not just for healing, but for possibility. When we let go, we make room for something new to enter. We open the door to experiences, connections, and opportunities we might never have imagined while holding on to the past. So let it go, not with force or resistance, but with gentleness and grace. Trust that life has a way of unfolding exactly as it should, even when we can't see the bigger picture. And as you release what no longer serves you, you'll find yourself lighter, freer, and ready to step forward into the next chapter, unburdened and open to all that is yet to come. When something ends, it's natural to feel an ache, a kind of emptiness that seems to echo louder than anything else. But it's in this space, this gap between what was and what is yet to come, that the seeds of growth are planted. Pain has this remarkable way of shaping us, of carving deeper wells within us to hold more joy, more love, and more understanding. Yet for this to happen, we must allow ourselves to sit with the discomfort, to feel it fully, and let it guide us toward transformation. You see, pain is not the enemy. It's a teacher, one that we often try to ignore or run from. But avoiding pain only prolongs its lesson. When we resist it, we give it power over us. When we allow ourselves to feel it, however, we reclaim that power. Pain, in its raw and unfiltered state, is simply energy. It moves through us not to punish, but to awaken. It reminds us of what we care about, what we've lost, and what we've gained through the experience of simply being alive. Think of a storm. When it comes, the winds howl, the rain pours, and it feels overwhelming. But no storm lasts forever. Eventually the skies clear, and in their place we often find the air fresher, the earth renewed. Our pain works much the same way. It sweeps through us, demanding our attention, but if we let it move, if we let it flow, it passes, leaving us clearer, stronger, and more aligned with our true selves. Yet there's a vulnerability in letting yourself feel deeply. Society tells us to be strong, to move on quickly, to distract ourselves with busyness. But real strength lies in allowing yourself to break open. It's in saying this hurts and staying with that hurt long enough to understand it. In the breaking, something extraordinary happens. You begin to heal. Not by avoiding the pain, but by moving through it. Healing isn't about forgetting or erasing the past. It's about integrating it, about letting it become part of your story without letting it define you. When we face our pain, we discover something unexpected, a resilience we didn't know we had. And with that resilience comes wisdom, the kind that can only be earned by walking through the fire and emerging on the other side. There's a kind of beauty in pain. As strange as that might sound, it strips away the superficial, the distractions and the noise, leaving only what truly matters. It forces us to confront ourselves, to ask the questions we might otherwise avoid. Who am I without this? What do I really need? What am I being called to learn? These questions don't have easy answers, but they open the door to a deeper understanding of ourselves and the world around us. And while the process of healing through pain can feel isolating, it's also one of the most profoundly human experiences we share. Everyone has felt loss, disappointment, or heartbreak in some form. To feel pain is to be alive, to be connected to the great tapestry of existence. And in that connection, we find the strength to keep going. Let the pain move through you. Don't cling to it, but don't rush it either. Give it space to teach you what it needs to teach, and then let it flow. It's in this surrender that we find freedom, not from the pain, but within it. Because when we allow ourselves to hurt, we also allow ourselves to heal, to grow, and to emerge anew. And so in the end, it's not the pain that defines us, but what we do with it. Let it guide you, shape you, and remind you of the strength that lies within. Let it teach you that even in the darkest moments, you have the capacity to rise, to heal, and to carry on. There comes a moment when, after all the struggle, all the reflection, and all the healing, we are faced with the final, inevitable act, letting go. It's a concept that can feel simple in theory, but is often anything but in practice. Letting go asks us to release the weight we've been carrying, the pain, the attachments, and even the stories we've told ourselves about who we are. It's not a sign of giving up or forgetting, it's an act of courage, an act of trust. It's stepping forward into the unknown without the baggage of the past holding you back. The hardest part of letting go is not the act itself, but the fear of what comes after. We cling to what's familiar even when it no longer serves us, because we're afraid of the void that might take its place. But this fear is an illusion. Letting go isn't about creating emptiness, it's about creating space for something new, something unexpected, something better than what we can imagine while we're holding on so tightly. Think of the autumn leaves. They don't resist the wind when it comes to sweep them from the branches. They let go, trusting that the tree will survive, that it will flourish again in spring. In the same way, letting go allows us to move with the natural rhythms of life. It aligns us with the flow of existence rather than keeping us stuck in resistance. And what is it we hold on to, really? Often it's not the person, the situation, or the thing itself, but the idea of what it meant to us. The potential it carried, the identity it gave us, the comfort it provided. But when we hold on to something too long, we lose sight of who we are without it. We let it define us, even as it begins to weigh us down. Letting go, then, is an act of reclaiming ourselves. It's not always immediate, and it's rarely easy. Sometimes we have to let go piece by piece, moment by moment, until one day we realize the grip has loosened and the burden is no longer ours to carry. Other times, it's a sudden release, like a dam breaking, flooding us with relief and clarity all at once. Either way, the result is the same: freedom. Freedom from the expectations, the hurt, the regret. Freedom to be present, to move forward, and to embrace life as it is rather than as we wish it had been. This isn't to say that letting go is without pain. There will be moments of longing, moments where the past beckons like an old friend. But these moments are reminders of our humanity, not reasons to turn back. They are opportunities to honor what was without losing sight of what is and what could be. Letting go is an act of love, not just for others, but for yourself. It's recognizing that holding on to what no longer aligns with your growth is a form of self-betrayal. It's choosing to nurture your well-being over clinging to something that stunts it. It's saying, I deserve to move forward, and allowing yourself the grace to do so. And in letting go, we find that we are not left with nothing but with everything we need. The lessons we've learned, the strength we've gained, the clarity we've found, they remain with us, shaping us into who we are meant to become. Letting go doesn't mean losing, it means making room for more. So when the time comes, and you know it will, let it go. Not because it's easy, not because it's painless, but because it's necessary. because holding on will only keep you tethered to a past that no longer exists. Let go, and you'll find that the act itself is not an end, but a beginning, the beginning of a life lived fully, freely, and unapologetically in the present.